Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome. Thank you for coming to today's lunch. To His Holiness, on behalf of my colleagues and friends and the Premier, we offer a special welcome. It's truly an honor to have you join us here today. Thank you for sharing your faith, your leadership, and your wisdom throughout your entire visit. I'm joined today by a number of special guests. One in particular wasn't able to be with us today. He provides his regrets, but we celebrated and honored him well in the last meeting that we had in the major convention, the annual Ahmadiyya convention at the International Center, and that's the Honorable Greg Sobera. However, with us today is Shafiq Quadri, our Quadri, the MPP. Emrit Mangat, I believe, is also here. And Reza Muridi. Where are you, Reza? Here he is as well. The Toronto Police Chief, Bill Blair, I believe, would be joining us if he's here. The Mayor of Vaughan, His Worship Mirza Bevilacqua, who's been quite active throughout the visit. And the Mayor of Oakville, His Worship, I believe Rob Burton was going to be attendance. There he is. Rob, nice to have you here. Last week, I was honored to speak at the annual Ahmadiyya Muslims Convention in Mississauga, and it was a wonderful experience for me. So many of us were touched and enriched by the experience. The convention and the gathering was a great opportunity for members to strengthen their spiritual life and explore your faith more deeply. And I'm proud that here in Ontario, under the leadership of the National President, Lal Khan Malik, we have many strong and vibrant Ahmadiyya communities, including right here in Vaughan. In Canada and Ontario, we have the freedom to gather and worship as we please and in peace. And we respect the beliefs of others. This freedom and respect for others helps to make Ontario one of the best places to live in the world. And it's something that we're all proud of. Here in Ontario, we enjoy a level of peace and harmony that is not always experienced in other countries. And we're all aware of how valuable that is. And I commend the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for advocating for more interfaith harmony and dialogue. It's important for us to understand each other, to understand better, so that people of all faiths can peacefully coexist. Folks, it can never be said enough. Love for all, hatred for none. Ontario's Ahmadiyya community has enriched our province with its strong commitment to faith, family, and friends. I now have the honor of introducing someone who is also working hard to strengthen the values of faith, family, and friendship here in our province. He's a longtime friend of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, a man who believes Ontario's diversity is our strength. The leader of Ontario, please welcome Premier Dalton McGuinty.
Thanks, Charles. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Charles. Good afternoon to all of you, friends. Your Holiness, President Lal Khan Malik, former President Nassim Mahdi, Your Worships, Mayors Bevilacqua and Burton, Councillors, Chief Blair, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends. Assalamu alaikum. I want to begin by thanking you, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community of Canada, for your warm welcome today and for your generosity in including me in Eid celebrations last fall. It is encouraging to see that your tradition of strong leadership is continuing, with Lal Khan working to strengthen your community while helping to build a stronger Ontario, just as Nassim did before him. Your Holiness, I take great pride in saying Ontario has been blessed with enlightened leadership in our Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Leadership that makes your faith's timeless teachings of constant value in an age of constant change. To all of you, it's my pleasure to join you this afternoon and thank you for all you do to strengthen our province, including charity runs to support Vaughan Hospital, blood donations to help improve care, and Canada Day celebrations to celebrate the country that makes us so very proud. Your contributions will no doubt grow wider and deeper with the opening of Taher Hall. Minister Sousa, Charles, thank you for your introduction, for all you do to build an Ontario that is welcoming, positive, proud, vibrant, and simply stronger for making the most of our diversity. I want to convey the best wishes of our friend Greg Sobera, who is attending a family wedding in Italy. As someone who has worked closely with the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for over 30 years, Greg was tremendously proud of his Sir Zafrullah Khan Award. To His Holiness Hadhrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, welcome to Ontario yet again. It was an honor for me to have met you, sir, in 2008. We are grateful for your presence once again, and more so for your dedication to promoting the values that make your community so important to our province: love for all and hatred for none. During a Caliphate centenary celebration event, His Holiness said the following: as humans, we are all the same. A person in Africa has the same sentiments as those of a person in Europe or America or a person living anywhere else in the world. Peace and security can only prevail when each other's sentiments are cared for. Your Holiness's words are profound and meaningful to our ears because we know them to be true in our hearts. When I visit other places on behalf of our province, I am struck not by the differences, but by those common sentiments we share as human beings. Your Holiness, I venture to say that if you and I were to travel and to knock on 100 doors in Ontario or throughout South Asia, Africa, Europe, or anywhere else on this tiny planet that we share, and if you and I were to ask people at the doors, what do you want for yourself and your family? They would likely answer in the same way. They would say, we want good schools for our children. We want good health care to be there for us should anyone in the family get sick. We want to live in strong and safe communities where we are free to practice our faith, preserve our culture, and celebrate our traditions. And we want a strong economy that creates good jobs for us so we can provide well for our family. And finally, we want to live in a world at peace. My friends, these basic aspirations are universal. And here in Ontario, we are indeed fortunate to live in peace and security because we built a society where we work harder together based on our shared sentiment that it's right to support each other. It's right to try to make life better, not just for our own family, but for all families. And one of the greatest strengths we have in building our strong, compassionate society is our diversity. In Ontario, we speak every language, understand every culture, and have deep connections with all peoples. This not only makes our province more prosperous, it helps us build relationships that contribute to prosperity around the world by focusing on what we have in common: our humanity. And we're fortunate to have a strong Ahmadiyya Muslim community, inspired by the leadership of His Holiness, promoting peace, justice, equality, respect, and understanding for all of humanity. We look forward to building on this work together in hosting an Ahmadiyya Muslim International Peace Conference in Toronto in the near future. And I want to express to His Holiness how much Ontario would welcome hosting an international Jalsa Salana. In doing so, we could work together to build a brighter future, one of peace and security, not only for our children and grandchildren in Ontario, but indeed for children and grandchildren and peoples around the world. So, my friends, it gives me great pleasure, and it is a true honor to introduce His Holiness and invite him to share his wisdom and goodwill with all of us. Your Holiness, if I may as well, I have a small token of Ontario's 13.2 million of us, by the way, a respect and affection for you and the good work you do, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sit there. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, ever merciful. Honorable Premier, all the distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all. I would like to first of all take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Premier of Ontario, who has arranged this function and has given me the opportunity to attend this event and to say a few words to all of you. When our national president informed me that the Premier of Ontario wished to host such a function, the first thought came into my mind was that I should make my apologies with a deep sense of appreciation, particularly taking into consideration that my community had already given me a very busy schedule during my visit to Canada. However, later it occurred to me that this invitation had been given due to the fact that the Ahmadiyya community had made very good relations with the local people and its leadership, and especially the way the leadership, the Premier, reciprocate this relationship. It is indeed of most importance that where a dignitary or important person from any nation takes such a step of goodness and kindness, then it should not be rejected in any way. In fact, Islam teaches that the hand of friendship of no person should ever be rejected. And so, therefore, certainly if a leading figure of the country takes such a step, then there is no doubt that will be fully appreciated. Thus, this made it essential for me to change my initial thoughts and so accept the kind and sincere invitation of the Honorable Premier of Ontario. If I had failed to do this, then it would have been similar to a person who goes into the home of another and rather than meeting with his host and taking permission, instead goes directly to the kitchen and eats as he pleases and takes full benefits of his home before departing. Certainly, such behavior is a reflection of indecency and not at all appropriate. In particular, this lack of courtesy becomes ever more apparent when the host is giving full attention and treating the guests in such a kind and welcoming manner. Bearing all of this in mind, I deemed it essential to attend regardless of my busy schedule. And so, in short, I could not reject this hand of friendship, as it would have been a sign of huge indecency and ungratefulness. This was particularly so, given that in this instance, the homeowner has opened the doors to his home with such an open heart. Therefore, to reject the invitation of such a kind and decent host would be a huge oversight on my part. On the one hand, we Ahmadi Muslims claim that we are the one who display the highest moral standards. And so, how could it be that, on the other hand, we did not respond to friendship with friendship? How could it be that we did not respond to love with love? And for me personally exists an even greater responsibility to display high moral standards, because it is my duty to set or try to set the example for all Ahmadis to follow. If my actions are not in keeping with our teachings and are just mere guidance for others, then such teachings can prove to be of no value and cannot gain any of God's blessings. Keeping in view all of these points, from the depth of my heart, I wish to convey my deep gratitude to Premier of Ontario, that with such kindness he has welcomed and embraced me to this country in his province by holding this event. This is certainly an example of greatness and high moral values on your part. The appreciation that I am expressing is also a necessary part of my faith, because our Master, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, has taught us that he who is ungrateful to man is actually ungrateful to Allah the Almighty. Thus, as a person who claims to be religious and who believes that his every good act will lead to God's rewards and pleasure, and who believes that nothing else can compare of God's rewards, it becomes ever more incumbent upon me that I should praise the goodness and high moral values of the people of God. A few days ago, at a function also held here in Canada, I said that it is the Canadian people who have always taken the first step in developing relations with me. And this is a true picture of the high moral values of its people. However, I should also say that the history of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community bears witness to the fact that when we grasp a hand of friendship, then we make full efforts to fulfill the rights of that friendship forever. We endeavor to never let go that hand, and so from this perspective, I am very confident that our future relations will continue to develop in a positive manner. As I have already spoken about high moral values, I would like to continue by speaking about what Islam says in relation to high moral standards and its guiding principle in relation to this. Certainly, the world today stands in great need of such values. Only through fulfilling each other's rights can our local environment, our society, our cities, our provinces, and our nations come to be a true paradise on the earth. The Holy Quran has instructed that if a person is a true Muslim, then it requires that from his every act and deed, it should be evident that he teaches righteous acts and always strive to prevent others from sin and evil. The foundation for all righteous deeds has also been taught to us, and that is that in every act and at all times, a person must display truth and honesty. A person who departs from honesty does not have complete faith because it proves that his faith lies not with God but elsewhere. The standards of truth given by Islam are that your every word should be straightforward and accurate. It is only through the right word that confidence and trust can develop. And it is trust that is a means for guaranteeing peace. If this golden principle is followed at every level, then a spirit of peace and harmony will spread throughout all of society, from our domestic family units to the wider world, and indeed in terms of the relations between nations. We find that today the situation of the world is extremely grave, whereby there is strife and disorder in all parts of the world and a lack of peace. The root cause of all this is that mutual trust and confidence does not exist due to a lack of honesty and integrity. Governments make deals or pass laws that on the surface say one thing, but at an underhand level they have already made their own deals which are against the spirit of truth. Thus, Islam teaches that all deals and treaties should be made openly and without any form of ambiguity. The thought process underpinning agreements should not be a hope to get the upper hand or derive greater benefit than the other party. Instead, the focus and ambition should be to achieve mutual benefit and equity. Sometimes I become worried that the lack of trust and lack of honesty that we find in many countries will lead us to a grave and devastating war, where man does not fulfill the rights of others, but tries to usurp them. Then it is natural that the divine decree will take its hold. The end result is restlessness, a lack of contentment, and indeed wars come to pass. We are all aware that in the past few years there has been a global financial crisis that has caused widespread pain and torment. Apart from this, in certain countries, severe internal disorder has occurred, whereby the people and their governments are fighting against each other. Similarly, we also find that some nations are displaying hostilities and malice towards other countries. It is my opinion that this tragic state of affairs is all due to a lack of trust and a lack of truth, which in turn is leading to a lack of justice. If we analyze the financial crisis of the past few years, we find that on the one hand, millions of people in many countries have been laid off from their jobs or have become bankrupt and lost their properties due to being unable to pay off bank loans. However, on the other hand, we find that there has been little or no difference to the huge bonuses, profits, or salaries of the top bankers and businessmen. Many of them have been able to walk away with millions of dollars without anyone questioning them or calling them to account. Such cases have been reported in the media, and so are increasing distrust amongst among the general public, which in turn is leading to restlessness. In a similar vein, we find that many businesses are based on falsehood and iniquity. Such organizations are run in a way that seek to take advantage of the vulnerable segments of society by luring them with great attractions, and so are making fools of them and proving them to be senseless. For example, if somebody wishes to sell something today, he will place huge signs or billboards on the street in an effort to lure other people towards items that they cannot really afford. In some way, television and other media are also being used to exploit innocent people by hugely inflating and exaggerating market prices. If we ponder over this, then we will realize that behind this effort to make money is a lack of truth, whereby people are being taken advantage of and their feelings and desires are being exploited. In terms of trade, the teachings of Islam are very clear. Islam teaches that under no circumstances should a person be charged even 1 cent more than the real value. If you look at the companions of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, we find countless examples of their integrity and honesty. For example, once a man from a village went to the city to sell his horse and sought 200 dirhams for it. The currency at that time, even it is being used nowadays in some Arab countries. However, the purchaser said that because it was a fine horse, very special horse, the real price ought to be 500 dirhams or more. Thus, the argument was that the seller wanted less money, whilst the purchaser wanted to pay more. The quarrel was based not on a desire to protect their own rights, but in an effort to protect the rights of the other party and to maintain true justice. This is the way to develop true trust and confidence, which in turn becomes a guarantor for peace and justice to develop within society. Another point taught by Islam is that you must use your own wealth to help those in need and those who are deprived. It teaches that a person should strive to fulfill the rights and needs of such people. A true spirit of sacrifice is required for a peaceful society to develop. Thus, it should not be that you help the poor and needy only out of what extra resources you have, but rather you should be willing to inflict hardship on yourself in an effort to help your brothers and sisters and fulfill their rights. Do not only help those countries which, according to your own treaties and deals, you are obliged to help, so that you can acquire certain benefits for yourself in return. But instead, you should search for those who are truly deprived and from whom you can seek no personal benefit or fulfill any vested interest. Fulfill the rights of the needy as that is the means to develop real trust and confidence. Most importantly, it removes anxieties and frustrations, and as a result, peace in society is developed. Canada is one of those countries that seeks to help the poor and destitute parts of the world with a truly open heart and generous spirit. It has set up various humanitarian projects in an effort towards this. It is my prayer that this help and aid will always reach those who are truly deserving and who are truly in need. And I pray that Canada becomes a true beacon, an example for others to follow in terms of developing peace, and not just in your province, not just in your country, but in fact throughout the world. I also pray that you become a model of establishing honesty and integrity for the entire world to follow. The Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat throughout the world, and in particular in the poor countries, has set up many humanitarian projects in an effort to serve mankind. Of course, we work within our own resources, which are limited and small. However, we have still been able to establish hundreds of schools and many hospitals in remote parts of the world. We are also providing water and electricity in the most remote villages and towns. We have also set up a scheme to build model villages which have various facilities, including solar energy, electricity, street lights, paved streets, and community centers. The model villages also provide drinking water on the doorsteps of the local people, where previously young children had to travel for miles to get any basic supply or a bucket of water. Thus, apart from propagating the message of God Almighty, we are providing humanitarian services completely irrespective of religion or background. We seek no praise or benefit, we seek only to serve mankind, and so please Allah the Almighty. May God enable mankind to come together to fulfill each other's mutual rights so that the world can become a true heaven of peace and harmony. At the end, I would like to once again thank the Honorable Premier and all of the distinguished guests. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness, for your inspiring words. In fact, we're all inspired by the Ahmadiyya Muslims community's strong commitment to faith, family, and friendship, as well as to peaceful coexistence. Together with the Premier, we thank all of you for joining us at this luncheon today to honor His Holiness. Indeed, Your Holiness, your visit to Ontario has been wonderful. We admire your work to establish universal human rights and a just society. It's always wonderful for us to meet with people in our great province from so many diverse communities. And as the Premier reminds us, the more we get to know each other, understand each other, and develop our friendships, the more all of the people in Ontario and Canada will benefit. I hope you will join us with the honor of coming back to visit us again, and I wish you good health, happiness, and a safe journey home. And I look forward to seeing all of you again in the near future. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.